Virtually everybody, and certainly all politicians around the world, are talking about the Ukraine. Well, Canadian politicians are having their pictures taken with little hashtags, "We stand with you." Others are giving guns. We have our politicians with pictures. Brian Lilley is a columnist of the Toronto Sun, has a view on this. And, I mean, it just seems to me that we are so far out to sea on this issue that we can't even get back to land.
Do you remember the term Canada's back? Justin Trudeau ran on that. He said Canada's back. And,
on the world stage, yes.
And he invoked the image of Canadian peacekeepers. Canadian peacekeepers who stood on the Golan Heights, who stood at the Suez Canal, who stood in Cyprus, stood between warring factions and said, stop. And now what are we doing? We're like, we'll send you 60 more people, but they can't be anywhere near the fighting.
And they're going to be training your hard-trained warriors.
But we will only give you body armor and some scopes. I'm sorry, this is not what we are about. Ukraine is it's in our best interest to turn Ukraine towards Western Europe, okay? They don't have to become members of NATO. That may be a tipping point for Russia where they say, we're not going to stand for it.
Well, is that real, though? Russia, no one's going to attack Russia. No one wants to take part of Russia away.
No, nobody wants to take part of Russia away. But if that was the tipping point, you could say, okay, well, we won't make them part of NATO, but continue to turn them towards Western Europe. That'd be fine. But unfortunately, we've got a government that wants this, the rhetoric is sky high.
Yeah.
And the actual offer of support is less than a pittance. Justin Trudeau is a diminished man leading a diminished government. He's the guy who's bragging at the bar about how much he can spend, but he can't afford the bus fare home.
Well, I mean, $120 million, not even a grant, a loan.
But they can't spend it on anything to defend themselves with. It's for economic development. So put up a new concert hall, but don't dare do anything that will defend you from the Russian tanks that are gathering at the border.
At the end of World War II, Canada had the third largest navy in the world. We had amazing armed forces. How could we have gone from that to where today we have a bunch of overweight soldiers, by and large, with pea shooters?
I mean, it started, mainly with a guy named Pierre Trudeau. So thank you, Stephen, and your Liberal Party. But it did start with that because under Lester Pearson, Mike Pearson, it was still a strong, robust army. It started to go down. Stephen Harper and Paul Martin, to a degree, tried to bring it back up. They both saw there were no votes in it. And Justin Trudeau, he has no interest in the Canadian Armed Forces. So, he canceled a fighter jet order 6 years ago and said, we'll buy new ones. And they haven't even decided on what the parameters of that will be yet. He has zero interest in the military, but wants to claim that we're going to be around the world protecting all that's good.
Now, well, we'll hold up signs. Brian Lilley, a pleasure. 3 minutes. Thank you very, very much for watching and for engaging in the 3 minutes, which will carry you through most discussions for the day. 2022 is going to be a very, very tough year. Stay with us. Please tell your friends to subscribe and PayPal. Thanks.